Hello guys, I'm very glad to see you all here. I'm very glad to see your happy faces and I hope that you enjoy the school. So according to your brochures, you were supposed to meet today with Tina Galitiani, an amazing person and an outstanding Jessup judge. Unfortunately, she could not make it, so you're gonna settle up with me. My name is... my name is Viktoria Stavchuk. I played Jessup in 2011. Actually, you met my darling co-agent this Monday, Taras Varava. We played in the same team and went to DC together. I coached Kyiv Mahila Academy team for 3 years, and now I'm judging national rounds and slowly switching to judging international rounds. So, today I'm gonna try to take you all into this small journey to the other side of the bench. We are gonna talk about judges' approaches to Jessup moot court. What judges are looking for, what judges are evaluating, what judges are thinking, and how can you either disappoint or really satisfy the judge. So far, do you hear me all right? Okay. Great. I brought some printouts of the Jessup score sheets. How many of you have seen these score sheets before? Okay, so basically, like those who participated in Jessup or volunteered, you've seen these papers. Those who haven't yet, you will see them next year when you get your grades from the judges after national rounds and probably international rounds. The score sheets are not a secret at all, so everyone knows where to find them. They are publicly available at ILSA website, and the criteria are all criteria for evaluation Jessup are enumerated here. Anyone can read, but not everyone can understand. So what we're gonna do today is go through this criteria for you to get kind of like inside touch and understanding of what is going on inside the judge's brain when they are giving you grades, so that you could be more prepared and would know better what you should expect from the judges that are grading you. So we have two score sheets here for memorials and for oral speech. The score sheets are different and the criteria are little bit different, though in principle they all go into the subject matter, evaluating how good you are prepared. We are talking about criteria applicable in Jessup, but I need to tell you that actually those are not like arbitrarily established criteria by some ILSA guys. These are universal things that you will be judged upon like in any endeavors you have in your life, either your career, professional development, academic development, social roles that you might play, anything. You will be basically looked upon from the same standpoints. Probably some kind of details will change, but the overall picture will stay. How do you think? What is most important in Jessup to win? What is your view? So if you were like approached by someone and someone told you, you know what, I'm gonna give you one thing that is like the most essential for you to win Jessup, what will you ask for? Your thoughts? Questions and answers. Can you elaborate a little bit? What would you like to have in questions and answers so that it would allow you to win?
To be able to answer every question that the judge asks in not just accurately, but in the right manner that it conveys your expertise in the subject matter.
Okay, great. So an ability to answer properly and correctly any answer a judge gives you, right? Okay, so answer any question. Other ideas?
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence. Once again, can you elaborate a little bit more? What do you think that means to you? What needs to be in this self-confidence?
Even bad argument is a good argument if it is delivered confidently.
Okay, so control yourself and not be led by emotions or like internal things, but appear confident whatever happens inside you. Am I getting it? Okay, so confidence. And I will, with your permission, I will take it confidence, not self-confidence, just with slight alteration in meaning. So, other ideas? I need more ideas. Excuse me?
Researching how to make your research more productive.
Productive search.
How to find information exactly you need.
Okay, so ability to find correct information and probably like quickly enough and efficiently enough, right? Okay, so research skills. Go, I need more. Presentation skills. Once again, just
To be able to present your idea so that everybody understands you clearly.
okay. So coherent and well, probably understandable presentation path and skills. Okay. Not enough yet. Excuse me? Can you speak up a little bit? I can't understand. Knowledge. Okay, knowledge of what? So, like immediate knowledge of all international law. like this. Oh. Okay, so knowledge and probably understanding of the core international law. Okay. International law, knowledge and understanding. I still have place here.
How to make a perfect review.
Perfect what?
Review.
Rebuttal. Oh, okay, rebuttal skills. Great, you will, actually, did you touch upon rebuttal already on the lecture today? Okay, so you already know. So, make an ideal rebuttal. And I can actually tell you about the perfect rebuttal I heard once. I will tell you about it later, just remind me, okay? So, rebuttal.
Ability to establish connection between the judge and you.
Okay, great point. Establishing contact and, well, yeah, it's kind of connection, understanding, like mutual understanding between you. Establishment of contact with judge. So if you are asked about, if you're offered one thing, you're gonna ask for eye contact? Like, come on, don't waste it on little things, though it is important, of course, but think bigger, think bigger. What else? Time management, ability to manage your time perfectly, right? Okay. And I still have time. Let's get at least 10. More ideas. Not to get distracted. Okay, so concentration. Okay. Do you mean distracted in terms of someone opening the window or going to the wrong argument, or what is your feeling about this?
When the judge is asking too many questions, you might just get distracted and forget your line. Forget your line.
Okay, so be able to come back to your speech, to your core argument and your own path despite everyone. Okay, good point. Concentration, I did wrong, on argument. And the last one? Well, we can go on, but let's stop at 10. So, the 10th, who's gonna give me a winner? Okay. Once again? Be better than other teams. You mean competitors, not your teammates, I hope. Because you already heard about how important it is to have team spirit and teamwork. Okay, so I'm just trying to put it into the words of like something to ask. Are you asking, I want to become better, or I want to? Oh yeah, let's put it in these terms, and we'll think about it later. Being better. Okay, so now let us have a look at the score sheets we have, and see how much of these abilities that you asked for actually are in the criteria for the grading. Where do we start? Oral score sheet? Okay, so ability to answer any question properly and correction. Do you see that in the score sheet?
Knowledge of international law.
Do you see that? Well, okay, but is there ability to answer questions?
Questions and answers.
Questions and answers. Check, right? So we got this one correctly. Cool. Confidence in delivering your arguments and saving your face even in bad situation. Do you see that here? Demeanor. Everyone agrees? Any other thoughts? We got that one? Great. Research skills. Do we have it? Knowledge of the law. Great. You cannot know the law properly if you are not able to do proper research, right? We got that one. Presentation skills in terms of your appearance and path and being able to engage. Style, poise, and demeanor. Great. Immediate knowledge and understanding of international law. Well, kind of flows from the third one, from the research skill, and it is there, right? Okay. Rebuttal. Ability to deliver perfect rebuttal. Is it there? Do you see it?
Probably it's over the knowledge of law and the facts.
Other thoughts? Presentation skills. So, well, what are we thinking about? So it's not there directly, but does that mean that rebuttal is not important and that it is not graded? Do you think that rebuttal is not important? If it's not, no, it is important, right? So when we are talking about the rebuttal, it's basically the combination of things that are going to be put into it when judging. So it's, well, it's not that much about knowledge of the law, because it's, well, it depends, of course, on the points that you bring up. It can be knowledge of the law, it can be knowledge of the fact, it can be style, poise, and demeanor, depending on how you deliver that rebuttal. So it's lots of things put into those 2 minutes, and I think we can say that we check it, right? Establishment of contact with the judge. How do you think? How important is that, and where does it flow into our criteria? Style. Okay. Other ideas? Where else? Everything. Okay. How do you think about questions and answers? Yes. So if you are having good contact with your judge, so that actually helps you answering the questions, because you hear the judge, you understand the judge, you are able to give your answer properly and satisfactory, and judge actually understands you better because you have contact. So great. Time management. Time management, like a separate item in the score sheet. Great. Concentration on arguments. Style. Anything else? Organization. Right, time management, because if you are distracted from your arguments and you are being held towards absolutely wrong direction, you will never be able to deliver your whole speech within proper time. So this is something that actually leads you to good organization and time management of your speech, and that is important. Being better. Final point. Do you see that in your score sheets?
Yes.
Where?
Presents the strongest legal arguments.
Okay, one of the points. Anywhere else? Anywhere else? Any other ideas? Just look into the score sheets and think, is it that important, or did we actually like miss this like being better part? Uh,
Just all in common.
excuse me? Absolute?
The matter is just like all these points in common.
Great. Absolutely correct. So we have criteria, but we have total score. And in the total score actually goes your being better. You are having more scores or you are having less scores. And that determines whether you are better or not. Well, that not determines whether you are better overall, but just for the sake of this little round that you just had. Okay, so basically we're going to check this one as well. And this little exercise actually gave us an understanding that we all kind of feel what is important. We all kind of understand what is in there. But what the task for us today is to actually see whether there is anything else to broaden our view and to deepen our view and see how judges think that. One little thing that I wanted to draw your attention now, because what we were doing, we were looking into oral speech score sheets. We totally forgot about memorial score sheets, right? Anything of this refers to memorial grading, your views, research skills, knowledge of international law. More ideas?
Time management, because you have to finish your memorials.
Well, that goes actually to penalty part, because if you don't finish on time, you're gonna get penalties correctly. So
If you spend too much time on one issue or just following one line of argument till the very end of it, you might not have time to get all that.
yeah, and probably concentration part also goes there, right? So because in memorial you also can be distracted. You can go absolutely wrong routes, or you can spend too much time on one argument and then don't have time for the rest of them. So concentration is okay. Well, it is actually quite obvious and logical that most of things that you enumerated here related to oral speech, because that is fun part, right? What's fun about writing memorial? Nothing. But memorial is an important part of your competition. And I'm going to start with memorial now, because that is actually, well, in terms of scores and grades, it's, I think, the third part. But believe me, that is more than half of your victory or of your result, of what you gain throughout this competition. Let's take a closer look through the memorial score sheet. When judge takes your memorial, the first thing that judge sees is the cover page. Then judge goes further into the outline, into the summary of arguments, into the arguments themselves, and tries to deliver his view or her view, grade to your memorial. Now tell me, how much time do you think usual judge spends on grading one memorial? Well, provided that it has like 50 plus pages or something like that, huge arguments, a lot of law, like dozens of references which are supposed to provide the background for arguments. So what are your thoughts? How many time a judge spends on grading one memorial? Your thoughts? Just
1 hour,
3 hours, 1 hour? What?
about 30 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Few days.
Few days on one memorial. 30 minutes. How much? Minutes? How much minutes? 20, 30 minutes. Okay. Other ideas? So we have, okay, I'm just going to write. We have days, we have 3 hours, we have 1 hour, we have 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Any ideas that would go like probably weeks, Anyone thinks that the judge spends week on judging one memorial? Okay.
It depends on business of the judge, how he or she is responsible for
Well,
his or her duties.
for sure, of course. I will touch upon that later for sure, because judges are very specific, and that is a subjective like criteria, subjective things that apply to every judge. If we're talking in average, you know, so in average, well, I would say that this is the closest, but that is only for first and second memorial judged by a judge in that particular year. So first memorial takes, well, it can take a little bit longer. Second one is going to take 30 minutes. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth is going to be like 10 minutes most. That's that much of time the judge has on your memorial. That's the truth. So in that particular time, he needs to see in it something that gives him confidence and understanding that you guys did a great job. And I'm gonna start with this, that judge is not judging like formal things like formatting, font size, blah blah blah, these kind of things. Administrators are controlling that. But what do you think a judge looks into when he's looking for the first thing to understand the scope of the memorial?
The amount of sources.
Structure,
Convincing argument.
convincing argument. Well, how do you recognize whether your argument is convincing from like looking into it in like 10 minutes?
Well, if he reads them and he decides they're convincing him to.
Of course, I always spend 10 minutes reading 40 pages of English text. So yeah, that's valid point. But how do you think when you already know the structure of memorial, right? You've gone through it, I think yesterday. So you have the contents, you have presentation of facts, you have summary of arguments, you have list of sources, and then you have arguments. So what do you think in this structure is most likely to be relied on for a judge to see whether the argument is convincing?
It's important to divide the arguments into different parts.
Structure, outline, okay. Other ideas?
That is understandable and it flows well. Like you can clearly see where the argument is going, where it's supposed to.
Okay, and
Clear enough.
so it's important. I mean, do you need to read the whole memorandum in order to understand that? How do you think? Okay, so what I'm trying to push you to is the conclusion that well, judges read memorials, of course, but not all of them and not all of the memorials. So reading word to word is not necessarily what is going to happen to your memorials. Of course, in this aspect, judges are different, they have different approaches, but from my experience of judging, from the experience of some of my friends and fellow judges whom we talked to, very common for a judge is to go to the structure, the outline of the arguments, just looking into the contents and seeing what kind of issues are raised. So that is when it is important for you to actually formulate your headings correctly. Because judge will only look into the headings, and that will give him an understanding, or her an understanding, what arguments you are bringing up. And secondly, before going and reading through the arguments, we will look into the summary of arguments. And that is very important, because I remember my year when, of course, you spend a lot of time on writing memorials. You put your whole heart and soul and energy and everything you have into the arguments. And then one day prior to the deadline, oh, we need to write summary of arguments. Okay, you talk, I write. So like an hour and a half summary of arguments, good enough, go. I really discourage you of doing that, because summary of arguments is important for a judge. Before we go into reading whole 40 pages of text, we will look into those like one or 2 pages of text to see what we are facing. Then, of course, we will go into the arguments. We'll mostly, if that is like third, fourth, we are more or less familiar with what needs to be done, to be put into into that. And for most judges, especially experienced judges, it is not important to read all of the memorial. It is enough to scan, to look at the references, to look at the sources. Of course, it's mostly to see whether the sources are reliable, because, well, for instance, and probably it goes to like mistakes not to do. If I open the memorial and I have the whole page of text, substantive text, argument, legal argument, and for the whole of this page I have 2 references to Shaw and Brownlee, that's not going to work. Legal arguments need to be grounded on legal sources, and I will look into that in order to determine whether the argument is correct. Even if it is written good, if it actually corresponds to the logic which was supposed to be in that argument, but it relies only on some kind of secondary sources, that will draw attention and that will lose you points. Okay, so that's about the process. How judges look into the memorials, how judges approach the memorials. And then we go to giving the scores. In judging memorial, the score, well, the judge is obliged to give the final score, which is from between 50 and 100 points. Judge might give you some comments. Diligent judges will give you comments in order for you to understand further on why this grade was given. And there is optional scoring criterion worksheet, which is optional, so you might get the score sheet where a judge will just give you 85 with no division to the criteria, so that is okay. It is not mandatory, but once again, it is common for judges to actually divide the points. So let's just quickly go through this criteria to see the particular aspects. Knowledge of facts and law. How do you think, how judge can determine whether you know facts and law? Looking into your memorial, of course. What's going to be decisive? What's good? Footnotes.
And your references to the case.
Case.
And the sources of law.
Okay, so if I write a sentence here, something like, I know, that Mars consists of water, and I give reference to some kind of article. Does that give you an understanding that I know what I'm talking about? That Mars consists of water? No? Why? I gave reference.
The correspondence between the law and the facts.
Okay.
A judge looks for
Interpretation.
interpretation.
Correlation of law and facts and interpretation. Other ideas?
There are applying concrete law to the concrete facts.
Applying concrete law. Okay, so basically what we are talking about is the combination of all of your answers. So not only we need to put reference, but we need to put reference to the proper source, to the proper place, and the sentence which we are reference, it needs to be an interpretation. It's absolutely correct answer, because judge can read the case. Judge can read Shaw. Judge can read anything you are citing. We are not looking into like repeating the words from the book in your memorial. We are looking for interpretation. And further on, when we see the interpretation of the law, of course, with understanding where you took that, and then we are looking on application of that law to your facts. Because it is one thing to understand some kind of legal concept. It's already good enough. further step is, of course, to explain your understanding and write your law coherently, precisely, correctly, and within your word limit. And the last Rubicon that you'll have is applying that law to your facts correctly. So this is the combination. And I will give you a secret. Judge can understand all the combination of these three things from like 1 or 2 looks into your argument. It takes you probably discussed that. So when you have like argument, sub-argument, sub-sub-argument, so it takes going into the most little one, looking into it, and then going up and up, and overall it gives us a picture of how you understand the law. It is easy to see from the written piece, usually. It's not that easy to write though, of course. I'm trying to remember like the bad examples of memos where this knowledge of facts and laws was. So basically, when I look into memo, I will look for logic, of course, and I will look for kind of connection between your parts, between your arguments. Because if you understand what you are writing about, you are able to write it in a way that a reader understands you. Very common scenario is when you are writing one thing, for instance, the sky is blue, and then you are writing something like the sun shines, and then you give a conclusion. So this is summer today. Well, just to give you an understanding, you have this understanding that when sky is blue, when sun is shining, when the good weather is on the side, when the temperature is high enough, so it must be summer to experience this good weather. But you are omitting these transition parts for a reader to understand your logic. So you basically give 2 rules. The sky is blue and the sun is shining, and then you go straight to the conclusion, giving what you need to give. This is summer. So this is the mistake which is very common, especially for people new in writing memorials, omitting logic and not making sure that the argument flows. And we are actually on the second prop and etiquette analysis. That is actually what I'm talking about. So when you need to analyze what you are writing into your memo, not just enumerating facts or citing law norms without interpreting them and without understanding them. Well, that's actually something that you can understand from the list of references, the list of sources. Judges look into that specifically to understand whether your research was deep and wide enough. That is very easy to understand because the bench memo basically gives core sources which are destined for the case, and judges themselves know a lot of sources which need to be in Jessup memo a priori, so the list of sources will give you understanding. And the last but not least item is style, grammar, and citation of sources. And this is something that I want to elaborate on a little bit. How do you think? Is it common for a judge to deprive memo of the points due to style, grammar, and citation of sources? I see no over there. How do you think? Anyone thinks that yes, it is common and judges usually do so? Okay, so I have a bunch of people who are ready to disregard grammar for the sake of thinking it's not important, right?
Important, but it's not the most important thing. There are some best memos which contain some phrases with grammar issues, but they're still the best.
Good point.
It may in some way confuse the judge, and the judge may misunderstand some point, and because of that, the team will lose just a point just because of grammar. Yes.
Okay, so we are now talking about like a case where the memo is great but has some grammatical problems, and we are talking about the memo which has awful grammar, and so it just
Not just the awful, but in some cases the grammar may just confuse, because some I even cannot just recalling an example, but because when you read something, you want to understand what the team want to write in this memo, why it is a position, and it's something the position of words, the time, the grammar, some grammar issues which may just confuse the judge. The judge will not understand this sentence, for example, and the sentence may be very important for the proving of the position, for example, something like that.
So basically we are talking about a situation when the lack of grammar actually damages your knowledge of law and other criteria because judge is not able to understand them properly. Of course, once again.
I just want to add to my colleague. Very easy example, misusage of tenses. Past tense and present tense. It can easily confuse the judge.
Okay, Yefil?
It may not be so severe as like the entire sentence is confusing or sentences, just little mistakes that really just show the judge that you didn't pay much attention. Like you were too involved in all other things to pay attention to the grammar, so it's like carelessness. Basically, the judge thinks that you're careless and it could have been avoided, but you didn't. It's not based on your knowledge, it's not your fault, just your carelessness.
Okay, so you all actually are right, because when we are talking about the grammar, of course we need to understand the severity of the problem. If the memo is overall good, but there are like some kind of little mistakes here or then, probably one or two for the whole memorial, that can be okay. Judge, well, actually since judge not necessarily reads through the memorial, it can be just simply not noticed. But if we are talking about systematic grammar problems, which lead to confusion, which lead to like messing up the facts, for instance, with the tense case, or simple problems which could be omitted, that is not something the judge wants to see. And that is very common for a judge to pay attention and to deprive you from scores for one very simple reason. Judge is offended. Literally, judge is offended, because when we are talking about judges, those are usually like older people, respected people who are having a full-time job, who are working like 18 hours a day, having families, having children, having blah blah blah, a lot of things, and yet they pay attention, they invest their time and effort into judging your memorials, but they open it and they see systematic, absolutely stupid, outrageous grammar problems which could easily be omitted, and that is offensive to a judge, because at least you can spend like 10-15 minutes before submitting your memorials and make a spell check in Word. I mean, that is easy, that is one button. Everyone understands that memorials are not written by native speakers, so English not necessarily is perfect, but things like omitting spaces between words, very common problem for some reason. Every year I see memos which throughout the whole memo they have these words put into one without spaces. Either that is messing up with word limit or whatever, but that is a problem, and that is confusing because sometimes I need to read into and understand, is it 2 words or 3 words or what is that? Things like that, they are distracting, and if they are systematic throughout the memorial, a judge will most likely want to deprive you from several points just to get to the point. And in light of that, for those of you who did Jessup, did you actually receive comments on your memorials saying anything about your style, your grammar, your organization of memo? No. Okay, so either I did not judge it or your memos were great. So because that is a thing that judges do pay attention to. Okay, before we go to oral speech, do you have any questions that you would like to raise now with regard to memorials, scoring memorials, judging memorials, writing memorials? Anything you want to raise now? Okay, so probably spaces is not, it's one thing. Why it happens, no one knows. But that's probably one example of mistakes that can be seen in the memorial. The point being that you need to look into this kind of small things. Probably check email before that, I don't know, proofread and make sure that it doesn't appear. Of course, you are not insured from technical issues. Unfortunately, none of us are, but that is another story which kind of goes outside of your influence zone. You wanted to ask something?
I have a decision to this problem. It's simply transmitting your memorial into PDF. However, according to the Jessup official
You are not
policy,
allowed to do that.
They should be transmitted only in doc document. So it says, why do organizers just change rules?
I had a lot of roles in Jessup, but international organizer is not one of them yet. So when I go there, I will talk to them about this problem and suggest to have a PDF. I didn't have an answer, unfortunately. Sure.
I have a question. You told that it is better to interpret the sources of law when you write the memorial.
Yep.
But sometimes, as for me, it is necessary to make quotes. So maybe it is better to put them in the footnotes, or you can write them just in the text of the memorial.
The only instance when you need to give an exact quote is when you need to make sure that the exact wording of some kind of term or phrase or ruling is provided in your memorial. And for once, it's never, ever needed to put a quote which is longer than like 5 words or 6 words. So if we are talking about the quote up to 5-6 words, that goes directly into your memorial. So you start your sentence on your own, like in cases of violation of human rights, and then you open your quote, you give some kind of citation, you close it, you give your reference, and that is okay. You gave your quote. Students pretty often tend to just give the quotes which are like 1 sentence, 2 sentences, the whole paragraph, and that is not something that goes into memorial, not this kind of document. Because if you are given a paragraph of the case, you are actually, what you want me to do? To read that paragraph and make my own conclusion? No, I'm looking into your memorial to see your conclusion. So quotes is fine, but quotes need to be used with modesty and with thinking whether you really need that quote and how long that quote needs to be. And I discourage of putting quotes into the footnotes, even though it is now allowed by the rules of Jessup. Well, footnotes are mostly disregarded, and if that is something important for your argument, put it into the text, because it's most likely gonna be lost in footnotes. So from the logical point of view. Okay, so shall we move to oral speech grading? Okay, and we have score sheet for that, of course. With oral speeches, actually, it is the criteria are more strict than for memorial, and judges are encouraged, if not obliged, to follow this criteria and to assess every and each one of them when giving their grades. Of course, once again, everyone has its own style. Someone puts final grade first and then divides into the criteria. Someone actually assesses each criteria one by one and then calculates the final grade. But those are details. The result is that you usually have final grade which is divided to the criteria. And if you look into your score sheets, you will see that even by the amount of points provided to each of the criteria, it kind of gives you a feeling that those are more or less important, because, for instance, knowledge of the law gives up to 30 points and organization and time management gives you up to 10 points. So basically, if you completely screw up your time management, you are still left with 90 points to go with if the rest of your speech is okay. Though I actually think that a different amount of points does not necessarily make these things less or more important, because they are, all of them in combination give you the overall impression. So let's start. Knowledge of the law. How do you convey a judge in your oral speech that you know the law? How do you do that? Experienced Jessuppers? Any thoughts of how you do that? Cite the law. Okay. Invoking cases. Okay. Other ideas?
Connecting the law with the facts from the case.
Connecting the law, interpreting the law, right?
Knowing the most superior law. There are other laws that are relevant, but the highest.
Okay, so knowing your core law sources, knowing hierarchy, most important, and more. Okay. Other ideas? Does it matter whether you know 2 cases or 10 cases? The quantity of your law, does it matter?
Yes, sometimes they may just ask, can you name any other cases that refer to this issue? You have to remember cases.
Okay, but what if I ask you, do you have any cases on right to privacy? And you give me 10 cases, right? Wow, super, you just gave me names of 10 cases. Is that enough? What am I gonna ask further? The facts of the case. Exactly, I'm gonna ask, can you please comment on the facts and the law of those cases? And at this point, you either can or you cannot. So basically, when we are talking about the law, the quality and quantity of your knowledge of the law, if you can say that, you need to maintain the balance. You need to limit your probably like presentation to most important sources, those which are definitely the core for your arguments. You need to know them well, deep enough. You need to be able to elaborate on them, on whatever aspects of them. Of course, you need to try and you need to expand your research. You need to know other sources, secondary sources, but without deep knowledge of your core sources, those do not matter. So that's something that needs to be understood from the beginning. If you know 10 names of the case, you know nothing. If you know 3 cases with their facts, with their law, with the circumstances, how they were decided, why they were decided, with the dissenting opinions, with the implications of the case, then you know a hell of a lot. So that goes to the knowledge of the law. How you convey that? Exactly, you cite your law, you invoke cases, you interpret your law, you explain the law, you lead a judge through your argument, explaining how this particular law is relevant for this particular case and why you think so. That is a picture that you are willing to give to a judge. Next. Questions and answers. That is probably a topic which is always most interesting and crucial for students, and I know that you are having a lecture on questions and answers tomorrow, and Cyrus is going to actually give you the basics of how do you deal with Q&A sessions. Just to like a little teaser of what you will talk about with Cyrus in questions and answers. There are two important things: question and answer. That is that simple. You hear the judge asking something, you stop, you listen, you understand the question itself, then you give your answer and make sure that your answer is relevant, precise, short enough, and goes to the point that judge asked. I know it sounds easy. I know it's hard to do. I do know because I've been at your place for 3 years and I know how hard it is actually to get to the point of the question. And when you are answering, you think you are answering, and then your coach goes like, what the heck was that? Where was your answer? You did not answer the question. I did. No, you didn't. So that is hard. And that takes experience, that takes time, that takes practice to learn how to do that. There is no universal recipe for you to just immediately become able to answer questions. But what you can start with is listening. And that's it, listening and trying to understand. Anyone is confused about how do you convey knowledge of the facts? Come on, I'm talking for too long. Give me something from the auditorium. Don't sleep. Give me something. Talk. Knowledge of the facts. Can anyone actually now tell me briefly the facts of the case that you are working on currently for your mini-moot?
That there are 2 organizations and 135 persons who were suffered from the pollution of the country by sodium cyanide, which was the fact after the heavy rains and the growth of this chemical waste stock, and they are claiming that the government has violated Article 8 and 6. 6 because the 6 is because of the 2 companies who had an administrative procedure which is still doesn't have a decision, and the right of the arms. And the Article 8 because they violate their private life by overturning this stone, which is important for them because so 1/2 of the Condor installation is practices Langerism, and this is important for them since this religion is since 12th century.
Okay. So, if we take that description of the facts and try to understand, did it demonstrate you the knowledge of the facts? Well, it did to me, because basically we heard basic facts enumerated in the chronological order, what the case is about, what happened, who did what, so there is knowledge of the fact. Do you think that we could get an understanding of the facts from this presentation? Do you think that you understand the facts and that you convinced your understanding? Maybe. Okay, then let's go through what we heard. We heard firstly the description what happened. Then we went to the enumeration of the submissions, like articles which are raised. And then, well, for me, I heard that this article is raised because this happened and this is important and this violated. And, well, the most important phrase for me was actually it was important for them. So this is like kind of details which convey your understanding of the facts. Not only you know what happened, not only you know what legal issue is raised, what article of the convention, but you also understand why this article is raised in light of these facts. So this is like a simple demonstration, actually excellent example that you gave us just like that, because it was able to demonstrate these aspects of knowledge and understanding. Of course, in a very simple presentation here, it's going to be much more complicated at Jessup, but the principle is that you don't, not only you need to know the facts, not only you need to know the numbers of the paragraphs, not only you need to know the names, not only you need to know the dates, but you need to understand the relevance of all of that to your argument, to your case, to the fact that you are standing in front of the court. So this understanding is, I would honestly put the knowledge of the facts broader into the understanding of the facts. It's not that hard to learn by heart the dates and names and facts. It's much harder to understand them and to demonstrate this understanding. So I encourage you to learn for that. Style, poise, and demeanor. My favorite thing. That is actually my thing. When I coached the teams, I loved to spend time on this because I think that is important. That is not only important for Jessup, that is important for life, for your career, for your personal life, for whatever and wherever you go. You need to know how to maintain yourself. Yesterday you had the lecture on creating a personal brand, which hopefully touched upon some things which actually go into the style and demeanor. I'm not sure, but I think that Vladimir was supposed to touch upon dress code and this kind of questions. No, he didn't? Okay, then I will. So even though it says style, poise, and demeanor, what it means is judge looks at you and judge grades how you look. It is so, how you look, how you stand, how you talk, how you gesticulate, if you gesticulate, and what kind of impression you create if we moot you. Basically, that's what you sound for a judge when he or she tries to judge your style, poise, and demeanor. We moot you, we don't hear what you say, we just look at how you say it and how you look into it. That's what is put into those, I don't remember how many points it gives. For me, it's almost 16 points officially, but that is half of your impression that you create overall throughout your speech. So, elements of that, as I said, your looks, your dress code. Dress code for Jessup is formal, which is the suit and a tie for a guy, Vitaly, well, kind of summer dress code, but it's always suit and a tie. For a girl, it's a skirt. Well, it can be pants, but it needs to be a formal blouse or shirt, something formal, preferably of light colors, not red, not orange, white, blue, light blue, or I'm bad in English colors, I'm sorry, but beige or anything light. The main point is that your outfit does not need to create more attention than you yourself. Your outfit is just your outfit. It's background to yourself, not vice versa. So when you dress for Jessup, make sure that you maintain this professional and kind of conservative dress code. For the purposes of this week and the mini moot On Friday, of course, we do not maintain that kind of dress code. We understand that we are here during the summer and you came from all over the Ukraine, to Kyiv, brought whatever you brought. So we do not have any dress code for Friday, but just remember that for your future participation. Second, hairstyle, and that is important. It's more important for girls, of course, because, well, when we all love our hair, right? And when it is so beautiful, we cannot stop by touch it. You know, just doing these little things or whatever we do. When we are nervous, we need something to distract us, and hair is our number one choice. Just face it. You don't want to show to judges that you are distracted or that you are nervous or whatever. You don't want this kind of thing to influence your presentation. So our recommendation for, it's not official dress code. The dress code outfit is official. The haircut is not in official rules, but it is very strong recommendation to have conservative haircuts, preferably put backwards so that it wouldn't distract you in front, but definitely not something like extraordinary, I don't know, wedding hairstyles or whatever. It's not something that you want to create for your round. Same goes to jewelry, same goes to makeup. No strict rules, but the main principle is that all of that is your background, not like forward thing that you want to put. You need to be at front. Everything else needs to be a background. So conservative makeup, conservative hairstyle, and conservative dress code. Then, when you already are at the podium and you already look professional, modest, and good in all your dress code, then comes your behavior at the podium. Then comes how you speak, how you gesticulate. Gesticulation is one of the most problematic things for most of the students, especially for those who are emotional by themselves. I am emotional, so it is hard, it was and it still is hard for me to control my gesticulation when I speak. But I learned how to do that, because when you are talking, nothing around you needs to distract people from what you are talking about. Well, my gesticulation usually goes just this little space in front of me. I put my hands there, I do a lot of things with them, but I make sure that they stay there. Gesticulation which goes all the way around, that is distracting. Well, I had this example which was actually in DC. If I'm not mistaken, that was a team from India. It's enough that they speak with very weird accent, which is already hard to understand, but they also are pretty emotional sometimes. So when he explains something, and he goes, "Your Excellency, this is what I'm talking to you. This is what I'm trying to understand." So this is kind of a gesticulation which is not persuasive. I know it seems like if I help myself, my arguments with my hands, that will be helpful. No, it won't. It will distract. And for most of Jessuppers who are former Jessuppers, who are current judges, who know how they struggled with gesticulation, this kind of thing will just give them a moment of fun, but that will not help. So gesticulation is important. Try to kind of maintain it to the minimum. There are like a lot of things, mimics also. I had 1 year one of my teams who from Kyiv Mahila Academy I was coaching them. They actually they won. They became national champions. And then one of my colleagues, partner from Baker McKenzie, who judged them, after national rounds, they just stepped by his office and like, what do you think? How you judged my team? What did you think about them? Well, everything was fine. They were okay. The law was good. Everything was good. But you know what? The second girl, she was not friendly. I mean, what do you mean she was not friendly? Well, I asked her question, and she was like. And that was like for every question she was asked, as if she didn't like it. Like, well, I don't think it's because she didn't like it. And I actually asked her afterwards, I don't know, I didn't notice. But that's kind of thing that creates your impression. Because like everything was fine, but she was not friendly. So she did not welcome questions with her mimic. That's something that I could not see from her back, but that's something that judges see. So that gives you a demonstration of how important these little things actually are. Like mimics, who would think that mimics count, right? They do, because they create an impression. How do you think, what is the difference between organization and time management? Is it different? Why do we have different terms here in this criteria?
Organization is like giving a roadmap of the organization. The time management is, for example, if you see that it is a hot bench, you should guide all your arguments and give only the strongest sentences, strongest statements.
Okay. Kind of. Any other ideas to?
I think there will be a lack of organization when, for example, a respondent comes to a podium and he forgot some papers, some necessary things. So I think it's kind of lack of organization.
Okay, so organization as some kind of around the speech thing. Good view, actually. Okay, anything else? Any other thoughts? Logical structure of arguments. Okay, and time management?
Time management is an ability to make your speech in 20 minutes, or 15 minutes, or 10 minutes, if you try to ask too much questions.
Okay.
It's also important before you begin to speak, it's important to use a plan for your speech so that judges have an insight of how you will introduce your arguments.
Okay, so let me try to create an example. You are judges. I'm standing in front of you, and I'm talking. For instance, I'm giving you a roadmap of my arguments. I'm saying that I will cover issue 1 and issue 2, and within issue 1 I will say this. Within issue 2 I will say this, and then I go to issue 1. I talk about sub-issue first. Then you ask me question, and then within that question I go to sub-issue 3. I talk on sub-issue 3 for like 10 minutes, then I remember that I had sub-issue 2, I come back to it, I talk about it, then I see the sign that I have 5 minutes left. I'm trying to go to second issue, I get another question on issue 1, I talk about it a little bit more, and then I have 2 minutes left. And I immediately, very fastly talk about issue 2. Okay, so this is like an overview of my speech. How do you think? What is the problem here? Is it organization or time management? Organization and time management. Elaborate a little bit. Just give you a few. What was the problem? Where did it go wrong? What could I do better? Okay, that might be true sometimes and might be not true also sometimes. I will give you an example when long roadmap is needed, because issues are very different. Sometimes issue is plain clear. Everyone understands that in this issue we will talk about some kind of legality of arms. So you can give short roadmap. I will talk on issue 1 about legality of arms. Sometimes issues are complicated, and teams are actually given a very wide choice of arguments to choose. They can talk about proportionality or necessity or whatever, so there are a lot of issues. And then when there is a choice of the team, and the team decides that in this argument this submission I go for this argument, this is my main argument, even though I had alternatives, then it is preferably to give longer roadmap in order to give a judge exact understanding from the very beginning which kind of argument you as a team and an agent chose to address within this argument. So, so both approaches are correct, just they have their own cases to implement. But thank you for your commentary. Any other comments? Why organization was bad? Why time management was bad?
Because the order wasn't like logical. Because there were a lot of jumps between the issue 1, issue 3, and then go back to issue 2.
Okay. Not logical order, mixed up. Further?
Time management was wrong because you spent 10 minutes talking about first issue, forgotten about second, and the second issue. And that's why you have no time to talk on second issue as you want. And as you announced in the beginning of your speech.
Okay. Other thoughts? So, well, time management is obviously fucked up, right? I mean, we spent 2 minutes on the second argument instead of, 10 out of 20. So it's obvious that time management was bad. But when we are talking about bad time management, it is always important to understand why was it bad. Was it bad organization, or was it hot bench which was unmanageable, or was it absolutely legit conversation with the judges on the issue which was important to judges, and it was like absolutely okay for judges in this case? Because sometimes it's gonna be a case when the first issue is just so good, so interesting and complex that judges will deliberately put you on this issue and spend a lot of time on it in order to understand all the specifics and aspects. And then they realize that you don't have time for other arguments, but they will accept that because that was their intention. Very rare cases, but there are such. Mostly when we are talking about bad management, it's either bad organization from the very beginning or bad management of the bench. Either thing is bad for your argument, bad for your outcome, and bad for your organization. So when we are talking about organization, we are talking about order of your arguments. Do you understand what arguments are most important? Do you put them in front? Because that's what you're supposed to do, right? You put your priority arguments up first, you start with them, and you make sure that you cover them. Even if you are forcefully brought into some kind of alternative arguments, like for instance sub-issue 3, you are brought there by a question from a judge, right? So you go there, but make sure you don't have to spend 10 minutes on that alternative argument. You need to limit your time. You need to understand whether it is important or not. And then just briefly touching upon the alternative argument is okay, and it is enough as long as you remember and understand what your main and core argument is. So organization is about prioritization, about prioritization in terms of order in which you present your arguments, and in terms of time that you spend on that or another arguments. Okay? Well, time management is about time. It's obvious. It's about controlling your time and putting your time where it needs to be, to your main and basic arguments. So, questions? Oral speech is most fun of moot courts, always. It's very challenging, and it's very important because you spend 6 months writing memorials. So you take your time, you do it at home, you do it in library, you do it in comfortable places where you feel good. You do it in your own path, either slow or quick, as you are used to do that. In oral, everyone is put into the same conditions. You put into one room, you put into 20 minutes, and it doesn't matter what your usual or natural path is, you need to fit into these circumstances. And that's why it is challenging, and it is pretty often pretty hard. But it doesn't mean that it's not manageable. So let's have a little bit of discussion. Something that I probably missed, something that you wanted to know about judging or about anything actually at this point. And then we'll have some free time to talk.
You asked to remind me about the best rebuttal ever.
Best rebuttal ever. Thank you. Yes. So for years, I've been, when I participated, I've been told by my coaches about rebuttal. Rebuttal needs to be good, and every time they kept telling me same things. It needs to be short, it needs to be precise, it needs to be up to the point, blah, 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 same phrases every time. I could not get it. Then when I started coaching, I went to the other side and kept saying the same things to my teams, and they did not understand it, and they did not get it. So I was struggling to find a perfect rebuttal in years. I was looking into it, we had a lot of rounds, and every time something was not good enough with the rebuttal. I was sure that no one can make good rebuttal. Rebuttal is something that is absolutely like unattainable. But the perfect rebuttal, and I'm saying this to you because I think that it is available online, you can find it, or we can, I think I have discs, CD somewhere, I can distribute it. That was 2012, I think. The final where Russia actually won Jessup Cup. So the rebuttal of Russia, St. Petersburg, that was a perfect rebuttal. That was short, it was straight to the point, the arguments were chosen brilliantly, and it was delivered very precisely. 2 points. Once again, 2 points. It makes perfect rebuttal. 2 sentences for each point, proper articulation, and that was it. And that was Jessup Championship. So if you want to look into the perfect rebuttal, go and find 2012 final round. Actually, I should have a CD somewhere. I find it, and I will probably distribute it through National Administrator for you to see.